Okay, fantastic, fantastic. We're ready to get started. Good stuff. Thank you very much for everyone joining. Should be a lot of fun today. We're going to talk about digital production and lean types of processes, digital delivery. If you joined 2 days ago, we talked about planning projects well with digital. Today, we're going to be focusing far more on the idea of now you've planned the job, you got to execute. You got to deliver in the most efficient possible way. And that's where digital can have a big impact. So we have an amazing group of panelists. First, I'd like to introduce Francois. Drum roll, please. Just kidding. We'll introduce Francois Beaupre. He's a design manager at Gamma USA, custom curtain wall manufacturer. Over a decade of experience in facade design, worked on several high-profile buildings, both in New York and Boston. Holds a BEng from ETS in Montreal, which is a very famous school. We have a few grads at our company as well. And in his spare time, likes sailing his yacht off the Monaco coast, which is, I think I'm gonna have to come visit you, Francois, next summer. So welcome aboard. Can't see your camera for some reason, but I think you're there. Next, we have Alan Tai. Alan is the digital design and practice leader at Island Exterior Fabricators in Boston, or actually based in New York, but they're also in Boston. His current work focuses on the digital transformation and business processes, design, procurement, inventory, manufacturing, logistics, installation, basically end to end. In the past, he was a consultant working with Front Facade Consultancy and worked with WeWork in their construction innovation group. And fun fact, he's a developer of Front plugin for Grasshopper and a Grasshopper visual programming guru. Welcome aboard, Island. Good to have you. Last but certainly not least, we have Dylan King, value stream manager from AG Solutions in Kansas City. Dylan has been in the glazing industry for a long time. Grew up in the glazing industry. It's one of my favorite intros I've ever done. Grew up sweeping the floors in the shop after school and on the weekends, and moved his way up into the field after high school. Moved into a field foreman role at 20 years old. So running a big team at 20 years old. Got some education, then moved into project management, and now focusing on value stream management, lots of lean processes and all that kind of stuff. So amazing to have you guys join. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I know you're all very busy. So this panel is going to be a little different. A lot of these concepts we're talking about today can be a little bit abstract, not easy just to talk in a round table. So the panelists have, for our education, have agreed to do a small presentation each, talking about their process and workflows from a digital perspective. And first up is Francois. Francois, if you want to take us away and show us what you got.
All right, thank you, Javier, for having me and to be part of this amazing panelist group. So let me share my screen. Let me see. Let me know when you see this. Oops.
Beautiful. I think it's coming on now. We can see your page for logging in. Is there another page maybe?
Whoa.
Show the wrong screen.
Much things here.
Right. Some good details there.
Yeah, sorry.
Probably stopped working 1 minute before this, right? And then started.
Exactly. So you see it,
right? We see, yes, we can see your screen. We see the presentation view. So maybe you want to swap to display view up in the display settings. Or
good like that?
I mean, it works, but you can switch display settings if you want at the top there, so we can see the presentation mode. If you go up here. Yeah, that, yeah. Click that and swip to it. There you go. There you go. Beautiful. Yeah, we're ready to go.
Sorry for the technical problem.
No worries.
So with no further ado, here's the presentation, my 7-minute synopsis on our digital workflow. So I will talk a little bit about the projects that we're currently doing at Gamma. A very interesting project, and the impact that the quarantine had on us. And lastly, I would like to talk a little bit of the impact that CMXC did on our processes. So the project that we're working on is a beautiful project located in the heart of New York City, right in the middle of Times Square. It's called TSX Broadway. That's a building located, like I said, in New York. 250,000 square feet, curtain wall and green screen metal panel. 50 floors, mainly hotel, and 630 feet tall. And the special feature on this building is that there is a beautiful LED wall on that. It's going to be the biggest LED wall in New York City. And this wall is interacting also with the facade. The facade has LEDs on the full elevation. And then when there is motion on this LED, it propagates on the building to create a beautiful effect. And also there is a big opening here on the side there for artists to perform on the street of New York. And then when they don't perform, they close the garage door, and then the LED screen is seamless. So that's the project that the team is working on. And how do we do it? So first, we're establishing a Rhino wireframe. And with Alan's beautiful tools, we were able to extract a lot of attributes part of the model. And all these attributes then educate us on a lot of different things. So this loop here is daily we're putting information inside the model. So it's a living document, and we're extracting almost daily as well. Then on the fabrication side, so when we have all these data extracted, we create inventor models that are driven mainly by the Rhino model. So we create these models, and then with, again, a lot of scripts, we're able to generate a partial building that we then insert into a Navis simulate model. That model, we put tons of information in it: Rhino models, inventor models, AutoCAD models, AutoCAD floor plan, and other trades. And then we run clash detection. From that, we send paperless information to our factory, where they're able to take our 3D model and use it on their CNC. All that kind of paperless. So, but in March 2020, almost a year ago, on that Friday, we were all sitting at a table, and then our company told us that we were going to work from home. So some of us were excited, but the big question was, all right, so we have all these big models, all these big things, but we're working on the server. So what are we going to do now? Working from home with a VPN would be impossible. So we scratched our heads that afternoon, and the solution that we found locally was to use Microsoft OneDrive and Microsoft Teams. So that allowed us to kind of seamlessly go at home and keep working at it, and actually almost be as efficient, if not more efficient, than at the office. So that was the big revelation that day. That was a big moment. But a month after this, we had another problem. The problem was that most of our vendors, they could not produce anymore. They were lacking. The supply chain was all broken, and we were not getting material on time. So our assembly line was suffering. Matter of fact, they were not working either. So everybody was stopped. And when they restarted, we had big problem with extrusions. We couldn't get the extrusion on time. It went from 6 weeks lead time to 16 weeks lead time. So big problem. And one thing that we started looking, one of our colleagues was on LinkedIn on Sunday morning, and he says, well, you know what? I think I found a solution to get all these things to help us. So the solution was to use CMXC, April 9, 2020. That's when we discovered CMXC. From there, it was a game changer. We were able to scan the parts to improve our productivity, and then to get live data out of the production. So we were able to know exactly when they were scanning the units, when producing the units, also when they were able to put them in the crate. And we had the visual map there that was telling us where things were going. So that was a huge help for us. And we were so excited that we even gave the access to our client team. So not sure it was a good idea, but they were super excited too. And today they're still looking at it, and it kind of changed the game a little bit, because instead of beating us up all the time, they were seeing the live unit being built, and then every time we had a problem, they were working with us to try to solve the problem. So that was extremely helpful. So I think I'm almost up in time, and so that's my small presentation on the our digital workflow.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Francois, and thank you for sharing your background from a digital side and just practical in the industry is incredible. And you already we're going to talk a bit more about kind of coming lean out of quarantine, which you already teased a little bit in the question section, but that's fantastic. So thanks for sharing. Next up, we're going to move over to Alan. Alan's going to share a little presentation on his work at Island Exterior Fabricators. And Alan, take us away.
Is my PowerPoint working?
Yeah, it looks good.
Can you guys see me? Okay, sure. I'll do like a quick introduction of our company. We're Island Exterior Fabricator. We used to be like kind of well known for fabricating mega panels, usually in the Boston or New York area. But now we're moving more into the fabrication of curtain wall systems. And we have 3 regional offices, one in Boston, one in New York, and our headquarter facility or manufacturing facility is in Eastern Long Island, Calverton. We have around 60 design engineers. We have a total like 400 fabrication personnel in our shops, 10 CNC mills. We're working like several different shifts a day, and installing 1,000 square foot of panels every day. So here's our geographic location. We have like 45 people in Boston, around 60 AEC staff in Calverton, 40 in New York, and total of like close to 350 to 400 tradespeople in our headquarters. So these are some of the selected projects that we do. So just to show like a variety of different types of projects. So we do for anything from like terracotta rain screen, brick walls, attached to panels, composite aluminum cladding, and or steel like aluminum glass glazing, like unitized curtain wall panels. So we have like we usually do like very custom designed projects. So everything is kind of, we're not like an off-the-shelf system. We are always like a design engineer for different projects. So in terms of our kind of digital business operation, there are like 3 important sectors that we do inside our company. One is design engineering, one is finance and operation, the other is manufacturing. If you look at this like an overall structure of the company or organization, things will start with the design engineering staff, right? We're going to create engineering calculations, shop drawings, installation drawings, fabrication information, bill of materials. And we're using like different types of CAD software and BIM tools, including like AutoCAD, which is like more for 2D detail development, and move into Revit model to create like a simple around like LOD 350 representation that we can generate shop drawings, and then move into the fabrication using Rhino Grasshopper or Inventor for fabrication modeling. And these data will be saved into PDM, like a product data management system. This is some current custom design process that we're doing. So we are developing like a portal. For example, we also work with design partners that they provide these design engineering data. We're creating like an online portal for them to upload their design information into the portal. And then we do some post-processing to the data, and our project coordinator will release those data to the shop. And in terms of like finance and operation and manufacturing side, we're implementing a new ERP system in our company that manages everything from accounting, human resource, material planning, production planning, inventory, and all logistic operations. And then one of the addition to the system is CMEXC, which is the model-based tracking system. It is very useful for our client to, or to generate a report, or for our client to visualize the progress of the overall project. And it will also be very helpful for us internally to track the progress of each of the components or assemblies that we're working with. So if we zoom in a little bit to more like at the project level, this is kind of our overall design to fabrication workflow that we usually start with like a central project model. It can be provided by our, it can be starting from like a contract document, 2D drawings, or like a model provided by the architect, but we always will kind of rebuild a Revit model that we use either for material takeoffs or to generate shop drawings. And then we move into the fabrication model stage. We have like a one-to-one fabrication model, and we're using different automation process using Grasshopper, Elephant plugin to generate these fabrication drawings or unfolding drawings, or even like the CNC information required by the machine. And then finally, after finishing the panels, we're storing them in our yard and then ship to the site for installation, and use like the model-based tracking to track these progress. So if we're zooming a little bit further into the tools that we're using, so usually at the design phase, start with like a 2D CAD drawings to develop details, have like a low resolution wireframe model, and then move into one-to-one fabrication model, and then generate all the information, fabrication information release that we need. So the important thing for us is to know what resolution of model and information we need, and at what time we need to deliver those. So each model kind of like serves its own purpose, and we're planning kind of like backward from the day that we're installing the panel. We schedule backward to figure out, okay, when are we starting the fabrication? When are we producing the drawings? When are we procuring the material? And this system is kind of like affecting one another, like each of these processes are kind of like interconnected together. And we're trying to make all our different software talking to each other, let the information flow from starting from design all the way to production. And this is kind of like the 7-minute overview of the digital process.
That's great. That's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. And I know a lot of people that were signing up for this event saw it as almost like an educational, get your credits as a, say, for an architect, you're going and learning and collaborating with others in the industry. That's fantastic. So last, we're going to finish with Dylan. Now, before I introduce Dylan and his presentation, when we started building this product and talking to customers in the industry, the far majority of the industry, maybe on the design side, does some 3D stuff, but when it hits the factory floor, it is more of a 2D workflow or a traditional workflow, building projects that are smaller, bigger, and still have the same problems, same challenges, right? So I think it's a great indication or indicative of a larger market, really, what Dylan's showing here today, and how we can still make big impacts with lean and digital, even if you're not using the 3D workflows like we showed previously. So go ahead, Dylan.
Thanks, Javi. You guys hear me all right?
You're a little quiet. I'm not sure if it's just a little quiet, but yeah, there you go.
Real
That's
problems with this computer sometimes, so I apologize.
Yeah. No, it's good now. You're good now.
We're AG Solutions. We're a 34-year-old company that just recently changed its name this year to AG and a rebranding effort. We got new leadership. Chuck Mowry came on in 2019 from Harman, ran Harman for a long time. And in an effort to grow, scale regionally and nationally, we changed our name and started a lean process. We started in October 2019. Perfect timing, right? We got the basics down and everything changed for us there. We actually went live March 1st, 2020. So it's been we've learned a lot. So basically, we sat down. and started working through it. Chuck brought it over. He said, "This is what we have to do. This is what we're going to do." And he was the only one that had any idea what we were doing and how long it was going to take and what we were really getting into. But sat down as a core group and defined, common things that have to happen on every job, even though no job's the same. Everyone's different. We don't do anything near what what Francois and Alan are talking about here, but we will someday. That's our goal. But we broke our job process down into 4 gates, and you have to meet the requirements. Gate A is 4 weeks after job award. Main idea there is just to make sure the project management's involved early. It's a quick one. It's not hard to get through. You got to basically make sure you've seen the schedule, broke down the job at some point, and start talking with the general contractor. Gate B is a more difficult process. It's a one-time gate. It's 9 weeks prior to field installation. We have to, at that point, the foreman's well involved in the job. He's with the project manager, breaking down schedule, breaking down means and methods, and really devising a plan for how to tackle the job weekly. We break everything down by week. Fabricate 1 week's worth of work at a time for every job, ship it to site, and that way we don't overburden them, and it keeps things cleaner that way for us. Also, all material has to be ordered by that point too, so it's a key one to hit if to ensure your job's going well. And Gate C, it's 4 weeks prior to install, and it's every week until the job's over, starting 4 weeks before install. The first trip through Gate C, we require a meeting led by the field foreman. He sits down with our shop manager, the project manager, our superintendent, our operations manager, and myself, and we go through the job, and they have to tell us, they lead it, it's their plan, how they're going to use their guys, what equipment they're going to need, what we're going to do to efficiently do our work, right? And then also, that's when your fabrication packets are assembled and together. We put it through our shop data group. They program it into you guys keep talking about Rhino, but it's a different concept for us. It's a saw that, it's a CNC machine, basically. We call them the Rhino. And they make sure all that's good to go. We have material here. We have our plan. We have our fabs. We have glass ordered. Everything can flow. And then Gate D, that's 1 week prior to install. Make sure the material's fabricated. We make sure glass is still coming. We make sure we have the guys on site. We make sure we have the equipment there. It boils down to a quick phone call, basically, with the PM, the foreman, shop manager, our delivery coordinator, and myself, just to kind of review where they're at on that week's worth of work, talk about the next week's worth of work, and we even talk about the week after that. Gives us flexibility to change things if something's not working. We can change the way we're building frames, change the way we're shipping them, change the way we're crating them. It's basically creates a lot of flexibility for us. It's a great thing. And then we ask everyone what we can do differently to help increase efficiencies between all parties. And we're working on that one. It'll come along. Even though, we started in October and we went live on March 1st, 2020, and the coronavirus happened. And we had to, we were a paper and manila folder company, handing it from person to person, constant communication, trying to figure out how to do things. We started seeing some good benefits from Lean. It's driving great communication between all parties early and often. The field foremen are getting input and getting buy-in on the schedule. We're holding each other accountable to our promises. And limiting the excess material in the field has been one of the greatest things, I think. We're not putting wrong material in the wrong place. We're not damaging it by moving it. There's no extra carrying costs moving it around in the shop. And it also, gives us the flexibility, like I said, to change our plan when we need to. If something's not working, we cut a whole job and half of the building's wrong, and you just have to rework it all. It's pretty awesome. It's also given us great, it's my job to make sure all this works and identify issues, root cause them, find the issue in the process more than anything. It's 95% of the time issues come from processes not being right. So we're chipping away on those, and it's huge, the improvements we've made. Efficiencies gains are dramatic as well. It's just all kind of coming together right now. So it's a good time. I'm enjoying the opportunity to share this right now. Also, why it's not a good time is like we're moving our facility right now. Like we have guys moving stuff constantly. We're moving to a new 60,000 square feet facility with a lot better flow than what we have now, and plenty of room for our anticipated growth. You know, it's not perfect for us right now. It's, you know, ideal layout would be a straight line, material coming in, raw material getting fabricated, going out the other side. We kind of had to adapt to a U shape, but I'm really liking how it's coming together. And so Javi reached out to us in like June or July last year, maybe even earlier, and asked if we'd be interested in CMEXC, and we really loved it. We loved the idea of the 3D models, and we worked through it for a while, and really to come to the conclusion that it's really great, but it just doesn't work for what we do. Javi started and Finney started developing 2D workflow for us, and we got back onto it. But then even through, we'll get into this with, you know, some of these questions coming up, I think, but through the process of being at home, being a manila folder company, handing physical paper to each other, I called Javier and I said, I need your help. I don't need what you offer right now. I need to take, you know, 10 steps back and climb a ladder. I need high level view of what we're putting through our shop. Same concept with QR codes, tracking, and with the end goal to incorporate it fully with CMEXC and what they offer in the 3D models, as well as the 2D workflows. This has been great. We're very excited to really get it flowing. I know we're still working through some things on it, but very excited. That's probably my less than 7 minutes introduction.
That was great. No, fantastic. And, you know, it's interesting that you say the timing, March 1st, 2020, deploying your lean journey. And of course, as a project manager, as a change agent, the timing is poor because, you know, global 100-year pandemic's not great. But then you got to ask yourself, what if you didn't do it, right? So going lean at a time when lean's pretty helpful because you can't, you know, work in the same space and stuff like that. I might actually, if you look at it a different way, it's like best time ever if you're going to make a change. Like get that lean, you know, mentality going when you're forced to change into uncomfortable areas. So okay, so we're going to ask a couple questions. First one now, Francois. So you kind of teased a little bit, but I love it. You're not just a design manager, you're a leader of a team, right? A very large team. So, you know, you're influencing people from the factories that you're working with in your team. So when, you know, how do you keep your processes lean, and how has COVID-19 kind of affected this? I know you talked a little bit about that. Maybe you can build on that a little bit.
Well, I think lean process, right? So the lean, the way that I at least understand it, is reduce the waste, right? Every aspect that you can reduce waste, you do it. You reduce also redundancy. And then by doing that, you improve your precision with things. So the first thing that when we went working from home, so at the office, we had plotters, printers, and tons of different things, and piles of paper everywhere. But working from home had allowed us to not use paper at all. We did not send any FedEx for the roll of paper to the consultant. So the design team had embrace of the fact that we're not going to produce paper from the design. Also in the factory, we did that. We by creating 3D model only and no fabrication drawing, it allowed us to create paperless environment. So what that means is that number one, they don't use paper. Number two, we were doing a model already, but by doing the model, if you have to create the 2D drawings, then now you create redundancy. And by doing so, the programmers are now using 3D model, and they don't need to use the 2D drawings anymore. And that, believe it or not, improve the precision with everything. And then one last thing that improved the lean process is the mining of data, the real-time data. So that's extremely important in the environment that we're in. That we're, I mean, today data is more important than gold. Good data. So all the data that we can get will allows us to be more lean.
That's great. I referenced this talk from Stanford professor Build the Right It on Tuesday's session, and what he calls is Yoda, your own data. So that's also gold, right? You're building your own data, right? And we're going to talk a bit about that in our presentation. We're going to show TSX and all the data that's getting created. So thank you very much. So Alan, on your side, I'm going to change the question a little bit. From the outside looking in, it seems like, you know, Island's done quite well to navigate these very challenging times. You know, business is growing, things are doing pretty well, probably benefiting, you know, your systems are helping that. But like, what's your, from COVID-19 perspective, what's your organization's response to this, and how have you taken advantage of maybe an opportunity that came in?
Right, I think similar to what Francois was talking about, I mean, the first challenge for us is like collaboration, like remotely instead of like within the same office. And we're utilizing cloud platforms such as SharePoint, mostly for internal office communication, and Beam 360 for sharing like design documentation, both from design partner to us and also from us to the shop. And in the process, we're trying to remove the redundancy of duplicating the data, because our data are in the same shared location on the internet. So everybody will be able to find the same information, the single source of truth at the same place. And we're using that. In terms of like releasing it to the shop, we are developing custom applications that we send our work to a link kit system. It is actually like an online Kanban system that we use to do or schedule our fabrication work inside the shop, or production work order inside the shop. And because of, you know, the COVID disruption, our factory are disrupted a couple of times due to COVID. And because of this kind of Kanban system, it is a more flexible way to schedule our work. So, you know, if we have like a week that we have to stop the process, you know, the thing just stops in the kind of Kanban kind of pipeline. So it stops there, but we know what works needs to be done, and we know how long it will take to get all those works through the production line.
That's great.
And
oh, sorry.
One more, yeah, the very last thing, similar to Francois said, there's like a change in the lead time of supply chain material. For example, like insulation, we used to get it in like a month. Now it takes like 90 days. There are like these unexpected things. Of course, like extrusion and those other big ticket items is affected the project more, but also these like small items also affect us a lot. And we're kind of like creating these spreadsheets that we share between all the departments, telling what is the changes between the lead time. And unfortunately, we have to go against the lean principle that we need to order things as early as possible, so that, you know, whenever we have the design data, we can order things, we'll order them immediately, so that these like disruptions of supply chain won't affect us.
Well, I guess, you know, security of supply will trump lean if you're in a risk environment, right? So I mean, it makes sense to be adjusting on the fly as needed. We do have a planned a little demo here that we're going to jump into pretty soon. But one more question for Dylan. Maybe you talk about the future a lot, Dylan, when we get together, and technology. There's lots of stuff happening in this world, and lean is a more of a mentality. It's not necessarily a software, right? You can fit tools to be lean. Maybe if you had to pontificate about the future, Dylan, what would you say in the 10 years, 15 years you'd like to be doing at 8G, or what you hope the industry is doing more of, leveraging digital? Oh, I think you're muted, or we can't hear you. Oh, get closer.
How about now? That's
yeah, you're good now.
Really like this computer, just not that part of it.
I think everyone's used to this by now, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We not 6 months ago we had a foreman that thought lean was a computer program, so it is coming around. Now I think, you know, with our, you know, short term, probably 3 to 5 year goal. It's full integration with CMEXE. It's running both 2D workflows and 3D flows through it, along back to our dashboard that you guys are basically building for us, a fabrication dashboard that holds all our documents. It's web-based, everything's there, instant answers, instant collaboration, live on, all of our field foremen have iPads and computers, and all our project management sits in front of computers all day. I think it's just going to really speed up information, right? And have it all in one spot where it's shared across all platforms. Everyone's talking the same language. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. It's just a matter of just getting there now, right?
Yeah, sticking with it. So we're going to start the demo in like a minute here, but there was a question that came in, Francois, and I'll put to everyone that's on this call. If you have a question, just pop it in the Q&A. Even if we don't get to it now at the end, we're going to hang out for 5-10 minutes after. We can answer them if you want, if the panelists are able to. But Francois, this question is for you. If you're only going to use paperless information to the shop, right, which we understand your workflow, how are you guys managing the QA side of things?
Good question. Because we have the CNC that they don't need the paper. The only person that needs paper is the QA/QC, and that was the biggest hurdle to go over. But there was several ways of going about this. Typically, the guy in the shop, they will check everything on the parts. But because it's coming from a 3D model and it's programmed directly from the 3D model, the chances of missing operation on the part is dramatically decreasing. And that's a risk that you're willing to take when you go that way. So what happens when the part typically is wrong is that the operator is not pushing the parts far enough on the stop, or a tool broke during the cycle, or the operator put it the wrong side, or similar things like that. So within 5 minutes, just looking at the 3D model and the QA/QC personnel looking with the laptop and measure few keyholes, they will be able to know if the part is good or not. So if you have 50 different holes, they're not going to check 50 holes. So it has been a big change in our process, that they're only looking at key elements now on the extrusions. But to answer in short your question, they're using a laptop with the model loaded on the laptop.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to spend the last 22 minutes here, and we're going to do a little bit of an updated demo on CMEXE and trying to take some of these principles, these learnings from Dylan, Francois, and Alan, and working with them for the last number of months and coming up on a year now, and putting it into practice. So today I'm joined by Finney and Ishu from our team. So Finney's going to start sharing his screen. And first I'll describe what CMEXE is. CMEXE.io is an end-to-end digital production track and trace system. So we're trying to connect design outputs, production workflows, logistics, installation, and sign-off in a single digital layer. So the idea is not just between the four walls, but also onto the site and into the customer experience side of things. So we built the product with next-gen technology. So this is what you're seeing now is a web-based 3D model viewer that we built to support this. And the idea is that it can be shared through a link and viewed on any mobile device. Why did we build this technology? So over the last 5 years here at CadMakers, we built a digital fabrication focused service business where we work a lot with mass timber fabricators, facade fabricators, you name it. And as we do some of this work, which we think is fairly fancy at times, we would talk to the customers like, okay, once you're done the design, once you're done the modeling, like, what happens after that, right? So what happens on the factory floor? And of course, there's some ERPs and different systems floating around. But what we've learned is generally what happens is things break down into paper travelers or certificates, paper and spreadsheets. So to track production. And this is indicative of the whole industry, right? It's not just the smaller firms. It's small, big, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of a industry standard. So that process, while it's maybe less costly and more file driven, easier to use potentially at times, It lacks data intelligence, it's prone to error, right? There's lots of expediters needed to find parts in the factory. And the experience for the customer is not quite what it could be when you're sending a flattened file as an email for the report on status, instead of just a link that updates in your customer's or your client's pocket. They take out their phone, they push refresh, and they can see where all parts, assemblies, and cargo are at all times, right? So that's why we built it. So we're going to introduce 3 personas. So Finney, who you're seeing on the screen right now, he's the production manager persona. Ishu, who's going to share after, is going to be the installer persona. And I'm going to be the client persona. I have an iPad here, I'll show you. So to get started, first thing you want to do is set up a job. So this is where we spent a lot of time over the last couple months trying to figure out how you're going to set up jobs when you have various types of CAD, BIM softwares being used, right? So if you're using Inventor versus SolidWorks versus CATIA, everyone does different part naming conventions. How are we going to handle this, right? So to make it open BIM, or like an open system that can support, we can support step file, IFC, FBX. We've made it really easy lately, or in this newest release, to set up your job. So the first thing you're going to do in the 3D workflow is upload your model, right? So you upload a model step file. That's going to take you to the next step. So we've already, so when you upload the model, we're going to cook it. We grab things like part length information, naming conventions. We grab some attributes from the model. And then after that, what you're going to do is you start doing your tagging. So what we've done, we're pushing this week, is a much faster way to do kind of instance and reference tagging. So right here, we're just going to search by curtain wall. It's going to find all the curtain wall panels, and you're going to tag it. Inside that tag, what it's doing is there's stored workflows and types of parts, things like this, that's already been set up in your organization for curtain wall in this case. So if you do curtain wall and your curtain wall process, the flow is about the same every time, depending on what factory you are or whatever, you can store that workflow inside there. Now, in this workflow, what you're going to see here is you can have a workflow for in-house fabrication, you can have a workflow for outsourced fabrication, and the workflow will be slightly different. So we're going to drill into one of these. This workflow is basically the steps that you're seeing inside the model and the dashboard to go from raw materials, fabricated, shipped, installed, signed off on site. So what you're seeing here is the ability to actually build control into your process. So you say what user persona can do, like what profile is allowed to progress a status from order shipped to received on site, and is there any requirements, right? Do they have to set up a cargo workflow, for example, before they can go from this step? So this is a way for you to build in a system like that user cannot move it to the next status unless they fill a certain requirement, right? And that's all stored in those tags, and you tag it now very, very quickly, so you can set up a job coming from Inventor versus whatever other software in like less than 5 minutes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is talk about roles, I believe. Also, you can see cargo types, traveler types. Traveler is a digital traveler, so replacing the paper traveler that we've learned a lot about. Next, we're going to talk about roles. So it's really nice thing we have teams, the concept of teams. So instead of having to invite people one by one and each show, because user permissions and roles are very important in this product. When you start getting into the Gammas, the Islands, the HG solutions of the world, you might be doing 20 jobs at once, 10 jobs at once with different clients, different supply chains. You don't want people seeing different projects, right? So you can actually get a team, fabricator team, onboard them into your project all at once, right? So it's much more seamless that way. Good, so let's move to the next thing. So you set up your project. Now the production manager is going to start setting up production. First thing we're going to do in the 3D workflow is we're going to take a look at that model that we've uploaded and set up a cut list. So when you uploaded that model, we call it cooking. We're grabbing a bunch of information. So for 1D and 1.5D nesting, we built an AI-based 1D and 1.5D nesting tool. So it already has read the model, something like what Francois said. So there's some information that's already there. We calculate that when it's coming up, and you can set up a nesting job. So we're talking about intermediate mullion, profile 1A, material type. And then what you can do is start putting this into a cut list and then running it. So from, say you have a TSX that has whatever, 8,000 panels, I can't remember the exact number, but roughly that, each release might have 500, 600, 1,000 extrusions that need to be cut. In a lot of softwares and a lot of workflows right now, so it's kind of a one-by-one process. You got to upload that information into a nesting software, generate a cut list, and then take that, put that into a traveler or something like that. What we're going to do here is we're going to run rapidly different nesting solutions from the model that was uploaded. So you're kind of setting the stock ID, you're defining some light stock lengths. You're saying, okay, is it a kerf blade? Is it this types of cuts? Is it miter cut, no miter cut? These kind of things. and then you're going to run it. And you could just keep running it. So what it's doing right now is when you push this crazy, is that done? Oh, it's fast. Optimize is a small data set. So you kind of run different iterations, and it gives you like a SVG look of what that cut would look like. So you're minimizing waste basically, and minimizing waste saves cost. So it's pretty much what it all comes down to. So if you have thousands of extrusions that need to be cut, this can be a challenging process at times. So we're going to nest and find the best possible optimized output for these extrusions in this case, the aluminum profile, let's say. And then once we've picked the best, we're going to push that into a traveler, so a digital traveler. And that digital traveler is what can be, so we create a job order, let's say that there's whatever, X number of travelers or X number of release packages or kits, or kit apart. It goes into the factory, and then you can start tracking the travel. What's a traveler? So in lots of cases, when we were starting this product, building this product, there's literally a piece of paper that goes along with the carts in the factory floor, and then you have like whatever 50 parts on the cart, and you have a paper that says here's all these 50 parts, and they have to be go through the saw, and then they get assembled and it gets glazed after, let's say. So what we use, we group all those into children, and then you have one parent QR code. And now you can keep this digital, or you can actually just print this and then use your phone or an iPad on the factory floor to still have a digital thread, but have a physical piece of paper on the cart if that's what people want. And that can feed into the production workflow. So now you start tracking your process from the traveler. So instead of having QR codes for 5,000 individual parts, you might have one cue card for 5,000 children, and then mass move them through the production process with a single QR code and a single workflow, if that makes sense. Next, we're going to get into showing the crates, I believe, right? We're going to go into crates. So grouping panels or any type of prefabricated element that's coming from the factory, you can start planning which crates or which panels are going to which crates and tracking that as well. So the crate gets its own QR code. Assemblies can have their own QR code. Even parts can have their own QR code. And it kind of, parts and assemblies can go into crates. Crates get shipped to the job, and they get taken apart and put back onto the job, right? So where anything that is being fabricated in a factory, shipped and installed on site is a great use case for this product. Okay, so now that we've set up the job, we've kind of set up the production, we're going to talk about the user persona of the installer, and we're going to switch to Ishu, and Ishu is going to share from his phone what it would be like as a person on site, receiving a panel and then installing it on the factory or in the building. Right? So Ishu is going to share his screen. We're going to see his phone. All right. So just to recap, you uploaded your model in this case. We grabbed the parts, we nested, we created a traveler of a group of parts that need to be produced and fabricated, glazed, and shipped. We defined a workflow based on teams. Now we're looking at the persona of the person on site. On your phone, you can view the model. Okay, you get the model. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to go in and have the mobile site has a simplified view for this user persona. He's going to scan the QR code, and we're going to progress this status from. So once you scan the QR code in the application, it's going to show you three things you can revert. You can flag something. Let's say there was a defect, or you can progress. You also can store information. So we talked about this earlier. So you can look at the shop drawings that are associated with this unitized curtain wall panel. So you can view the shop drawings directly linked to that status. And then you can close that. You can take a picture as you're progressing, add a note. So we're going to say, no defect installed. Now, once you're doing this, what's very interesting, we're going to show you after, is the analytics that come with this, because you're getting timestamps of everything that's being done by every user persona that's reported into a dashboard. So now he's progressed this to installed at this time, and this is on site. So you can either do it one by one as you're going, or you can go on into the shop, into the trailer at the end of the day and say, okay, I installed 25 panels today. Let's move them all here. You can associate all the pictures, which is really useful for in a COVID world to get sign off when you take pictures. Okay, install these panels, take a picture of it, prove that it happened, timestamp by who, and then send it to someone to approve, right? So we're going to stop sharing there. We're going to go back to the production manager who's sitting warm in his cozy factory. Maybe he's actually at home these days, but he's going to go in here and say, okay, I can see what's happened at any time. So I can see that whole panel has been updated to installed. You can also see, a little dashboard that shows everything that's happened in the last, XYZ time. We're actually gonna, thanks to Francois, we're gonna switch to the TSX dashboard. So the project he talked about today, we're gonna show the actual project. I believe you have it here. Oh, you're just showing history. So history tab is keeping track of everything. So you can see now issue at this time, put curtain wall 6 it was. At this exact time, moved it to this next status, right? Keeps a full traceability of everything that's happened here. Now let's move over to TSX and show that, please. So this is live data. Sydney, don't push anything wrong, right, Francois? He's looking at us right now. Just kidding. But this is live and this project's happening. So what when I start getting some interesting analytics, so let's say, show me all the fabrication that happened in December. So we're gonna search by December of 2020 through to the end of December. And it'll tell you, now it can be broken down by role. So like the fabricators, here's exactly what happened. You have an average of 8 panels per day progressed, status is progressed. You can see pre-assembled, assembled, and you can start to like filter that data, which is kind of interesting. When we started building this product, we got a lot of feedback from managers saying, hey, this is great. I can report exactly where all my parts and assemblies are at in a matter of seconds. It used to take me 6 hours to find the parts in the shop floor. And that's fantastic. But for buy-in of going digital, which is a good lesson learned for all of us, we got a lot of feedback from the people on the factory floor, right, that are doing the work. What do I get out of this, right? What's useful for me? Well, this is useful. You can start getting good analytics on how productive you're being. If you're slowing your production for whatever reason, you can go back at this, say, why was I, 20% slower this week? Was it more complicated panels? Did I have a certain batch that I didn't have the right materials? Was the ordering off or something like that? So you can kind of filter through this and get nice analytics from this. So thanks, Francois, for letting us share this. Okay, so now the last thing we're gonna do, I believe, is we're gonna go, and I'm actually gonna share as the client, right? What's that? Huh? Oh, we missed a big major part of our presentation because I got excited. So now we've shown the 3D workflow from end to end. Now we're going to show the 2D workflow. Okay, so this is where we're at with the 2D workflow. When we went to market, started talking with fabricators all over the world, vast majority are in the shop floor. They're running their saws with say DWG, DXF files, right? And a 2D workflow. So what we have here is the ability to track and do everything we showed today, from QR codes, user personas, profiles, but there's no model, right? So what you do is you enter your bill of materials first. That can be grouped by in 8G selection situation, like a release or a lot or a batch. So we're going to build all this week. It covers either a job or multiple jobs, however you want to set it up. And all those tags that we showed from earlier is exactly the same. So you're still going to be able to group your workflows. You can start setting times to say, okay, I need to have this release done by this date. And then you can just visually see how you're progressing through the statuses for that total lot without having a model to start with, right? So you still have nice, UI, user interface. You can still track stuff, but you just know there's no 3D model to look at, and it's all done kind of in the dashboard, right? So you can say, okay, by lot, what are we releasing, and then share this information. This dashboard can be shared with any stakeholder at any time, right from a link that updates as you go. So if you want to share this to your client or a third party or your supply chain for whatever reason, you just share a link, or you can onboard them into the project. So sharing a link requires no credentials, and onboarding them into your project, they require having a role and having the proper credentials. Okay, so let's finish with the persona of the client. So I'm going to go here and say, as you can see, I'm a bit blurred, but I'm the client. I got an iPad. I'm going to go into stay muted. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Hopefully you can see this soon. So same thing here. So this is a link. This is just a link that Phineas dropped in here. This is anyone can see this. And now I can actually report all that same information. Oh, I didn't refresh the link. That's why. So let me refresh the link here. So it's going to run. I should be able to see what Ishu and Phineas just did. So it's loading here. Again, this can be in the pocket of a phone, iPad. iPad's one of the most practical ways to use it. As I'm watching it, it doesn't have to be Windows. It could be anything that's prefabricated, like this prefab mechanical room that you could report on, say, spools. So you could say, okay, district hot water spools, it's been installed, it's not installed, where's it at, the status. So same idea. So anything that's being fabricated, Windows is a big part of what we're focusing on, but anything that you're prefabricating. So let's go back here. And it's loading now. All right. Had it all set up. Of course, it doesn't want to work right when you set it up. So the idea is that this is accessible anywhere at any time. And then you just push report, assembly, and there you go. There's the green installed panels that Isha just did. So if I was, 10,000 miles away and I'm a client that cares about, like Francois said, where's my work in progress? Can I bill against work in progress? Can I bill against proving when I get materials on my factory and they're in work in progress, and actually show the client where we're at all times, and then work through any kinks? It's a really nice way to report on status, cargo, you name it. So fully mobile optimized. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing there and stop share. And then we'll wrap it up. Is there any questions? We have one question. I think that's it. So we're a few minutes early. I just wanted to say we'll hang out here, Francois and Dylan and Alan. We'll hang out here just to wrap up. You can go to cmexe.io. The business model is unlimited users, monthly and annually. We're very passionate about trying to get as many people in the organization to go digital, make it as easy as possible. You can request a demo, and we're happy to show this product to you. Francois, Dylan, and Alan, I want to say thank you very much for taking the opportunity to share this with us. It's been a good educational experience today, learning about the different workflows from big, highly complicated projects with integrated supply chains to medium-sized projects. They all have the same problem. They want to be lean, want to be efficient, and deliver the project digitally. So it's fantastic. So thank you very much.